Hello, Bob Rietfeld here, preaching and teaching minister of the Spring Hill Christian Church, and welcome to another lesson on Survey of the New Testament, or New Testament Survey. Last week we looked at the book of Hebrews and then just did a very brief introduction to covenants, which is what the book of Hebrews addresses quite extensively. Today we're going to look at briefly the book of James. James is considered to be one of the general epistles of the New Testament. And we're just going to provide some, as usual, some general information about that. Hopefully that will motivate you to want to study the book a little bit better on your own or a little bit more deeply. The meaning is, the James is the English form of Jacob. The book was named after its author. So James is one of the New Testament books which had some trouble being accepted into the canon of the New Testament. It was only after the Third Council of Carthage in 397 AD that it was generally recognized as canonical. And so, why did it have trouble? Its author was not in the forefront of the apostles. Its message appears to be in opposition to other parts of the New Testament. The emphasis on works, where Romans and Galatians is on faith. Luther was its biggest opponent. He called it an epistle full of straw. He thought James taught justification by works, and it had nothing in it of the death and the resurrection of Christ. It was omitted from his German translation except as an appendix along with Jude, Hebrew, and Revelation. It seems to have too much Jewish flavor to it, it was told. The author was named as James in verse 1 of chapter 1, and there are 5 men named James in the New Testament. There was James, the father of Judas, not Judas Iscariot, who was of the 12. However, we know nothing else of him. Luke 16:16. There's James, the son of Alphaeus, a member of the 12, Matthew 10:3, a brother of Matthew. We see Mark 2:14, Matthew 9:9, and Matthew 10:3. Unfortunately, nothing else is known of him. James the Little, or the Lesser, Mark 15:40, was the son of a woman who looked on at the crucifixion. Some say he is the same as the son of Alphaeus, and some say he is the same as the brother of the Lord. And then there's James, the son of Zebedee, who is the brother of John, both of whom are members of the 12, Matthew 10:2. And he was beheaded by Herod Agrippa in 44 AD, as we read in Acts chapter 12. Then there's James, the brother of the Lord, Galatians 1:19 and Mark 6:3. He did not believe Jesus was the Christ at first, John 7:5. And after his resurrection, James is with Mary and other believers in Acts 1:14, just after the ascension. According to Acts 13, he was a leader of the Jerusalem church. We can see Acts chapter 12, verse 17, Galatians 1:19 and 2:9, and Acts 21, verses 18 through 25. Tradition says that he died as a martyr at the hands of Aramis, the high priest, in 62 to 68 AD. He was called an apostle in Galatians 1:19, and he was not one of the 12, however, so the word is used in the general sense of one who is sent, not in the capital A as the apostles that we think of. It is also used of Barnabas and Silas and Timothy. And you can see Romans 16:17, Philippians 2:25, 2 Corinthians 8:23 for other possibilities. So which one wrote the book of James? The father of Judas and son of Alphaeus, the younger, are not in the New Testament enough to identify with anything. James, the son of Zebedee, died before James was written. So James, the half-brother of Jesus, has to be the author. The Roman Catholic Church has to deny this because of their doctrine of the perpetual virginity of Mary. The date it was written, James, somewhere between 62 and 68 AD, because the author died during that time period. There is no mention of the Gentile-Jew conflict, which is in most of the other New Testament letters. That's an early date before the Council of Jerusalem in 50 AD, or a much later date after the controversy died down. After the stoning of Stephen, when the church evangelized outside of Jerusalem, the date equals 45 to 40 AD. The period that's covered in the book of James, during the period of time before Nero began to persecute the Christians, but when the Jews were persecuting Jewish Christians. The purpose was to show its readers how to be a perfect man, to show Christians how to live like God wants, even though they are scattered all over the world. The recipients we see in chapter 1, verse 1, to the 12 tribes of the dispersion. Now that may refer to Jews who were scattered all over the world from the time of the captivity, who had become Christians. It may refer to Christians who were scattered all over the world by the persecutions instigated by Paul in Acts chapter 8. The 12 tribes equals all Christians who are, in fact, the true successors of the 12 tribes. Galatians 3, verses 23 through 29. Some have thought it refers to Jews who are not Christians. The key word or idea here is practical instruction in personal ethics and living. The key verses is verse 1 of chapter 1, verse 4. And let endurance have its perfect results, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. The contents of the book of James, it was written in good Greek, approaching the classical Greek style. Better Greek than any other New Testament book, with the possible exception of the book of Hebrews. Some think if James was the brother of Jesus, being a Jew, he would not be able to write this good of Greek. So he cannot be the author unless he wrote it in Aramaic and someone else produced the Greek version. Its emphasis is on a practical Christianity rather than explanations of Christian doctrine or the story of Jesus. It's the most Jewish book of the New Testament. If you would take out the two references to Jesus in chapter 1:1 and chapter 2:1, James could easily be part of the Old Testament canon instead of the New Testament because of its Jewishness. Just a brief outline before we close. Chapter 1 talks about doers of the word and temptation. Chapter 2 talks about faith and works and partiality. Chapter 3 talks about wisdom, bridle the tongue. Chapter 4 talks about draw near to God and strife. And then chapter 5 talks about the coming of the Lord and the power of prayer. That's a brief introductory lesson on the book of James in our New Testament survey series. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this motivates you to study the book of James a little bit further. And you get some good stuff in there as well. And I hope that you have a great rest of the day and a great week, and may God bless you.